You know, this is Colton T and you're watching SAT TV. You know, stay tuned. Cause SAT is everything in more I want. SAT, you're all I really need. I'm say, oh my, yeah. I'm say, SAT, your flows that I love. And I never felt this way before. But SAT with every king. Yeah, yeah, and I felt a peace, yes. I'm say, girl, this is my breath. But I'm a sat, it's your loving that I need. And surprising, you're that special lady. I said, the carrots to my peace. Sat is everything in more I want, yeah.
Welcome to SAT TV News. I am Larry LaRocque, your presenter. Among the major developments, African Liberation Day celebrations officially launched. Britain to give Montserrat EC $70.3 million in budget aid. Iran's Ahmadinejad to contest pullback on ally Mashai. Details of these will follow.
Me say we just get the remedy for the pagan them. Me just get the remedy for bad mind and jealousy. Who want to see me dead? Me just get the remedy. SAT TV. Jam me say. You don't know what Javinci you watching SAT TV. Lord, is it straight triple dose.
Welcome back. This time we selected to focus on the tourism statistics and the details of the balance of statistics, said Mr. Karoli Cavox, Chief of Statistics of International Trade in Services section of the United Nations at the launch of a statistics workshop on the island.
It is very important in the region. We decided with our partner, the CARICOM Secretariat, to organize a workshop this year in the region. And Dominica Statistics Central Statistical Office was kind to offer their help and support to start this workshop here. So we are here with all member countries of the CARICOM region and the associated members, mainly statisticians, but also representatives from the central banks. The workshop is focusing on the basic tourism statistics as well as on tourism satellite accounts. We got a very active participation from the region.
Mr. Cavox noted this workshop was very important as many countries have limitations in their resources for such areas. Ms. Philomena Harrison, Program Director of CARICOM Statistics, added this workshop was also an attempt to build capacity in a number of areas of statistics to inform policies, including tourism.
So we have been working closely with the United Nations Statistics Division, Statistics Canada, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, the World Trade Organization as well, in this area on tourism statistics. We think that a lot has to be done in terms of the basic data sources to really be able to give a good idea as to what is the measure of tourism in the region, which maybe just for about 2 countries in the region, there might be some idea. That is Jamaica as well as the Bahamas, who have attempted tourism satellite accounts. But other than that, the other countries, they look at the travel item in the balance of payments, but that is not really tourism, right? Tourism is really a subset of travel. So that we have attempted to make that distinction with the help of our facilitators from the international organizations. And we think that countries are going to be going back and looking closely at the methodologies that they have been following to this date as some of the immediate next steps, for example, the visitor expenditure survey.
Ms. Harrison added, "We have to pay more attention at how we compute travel, the balance of payments, tourism profile, and foreign direct investment statistics. These challenges we face need to be addressed with a head-on approach so we can know exactly what is going on in terms of tourism," she continued. In more stories, on Saturday, May 18th, the Girls Guide Association of Dominica held their annual general meeting at the Girls Guide headquarters.
Our focus for 2012 was sensitizing our members and the public of the need for environmental sustainability. Units were therefore encouraged to continue working on the environment projects. We can boast of the Dupla Wall Collage, St. Joseph Brownie's Vegetable Garden, Maho Environmental Project, and other vegetable plots that are owned by individual guides.
Mrs. Janice Thomas, who spoke on behalf of the Chief Commissioner, Mrs. Agatha Elwa, said there is a greater need for fundraising efforts and a change mentality towards fundraising activities. This, she said, will foster greater success of program implementation and facilitate more participation at regional and international events in the future. Although low funds made it impossible to meet with the demands of many new and dormant units, membership in all but 7 districts were increased in 2012. In future, action must be taken to revamp the dormant units and encourage other girls in the Southern District to join the movement, said Mrs. Thomas. She continued to say that finance remains to be an area of much concern for the Girls Guide Association.
Girl Guides Association of Dominica continued bi-monthly executive meetings to sensitize management of the progress and needs of the association in order to formulate relevant hands-on action for units. National gatherings for guiders were held. At such forum, units seized the opportunity to share good practices and discuss solutions to individual challenges.
Special mention was made of the advocacy team for the outstanding effort in showcasing and marketing guiding to the public and for being the voice of the girls on weekly Guides in Motion radio program aired on DBS. Monthly training of adult leaders continued. However, poor attendance was an impediment to the achievement of the stipulated growth. In an effort to reach out to adult leaders, a training camp was held in the Out District. Due to the camp's success, the association made a decision to host an adult camp annually. The next camp is scheduled for August 2013.
As much as possible, avoid putting them down, because words has power and we cannot take back the words. So speak the words that will bring about a change in our young people.
In other stories, the Director of Forestry, Wildlife and Parks and the local CEBF Planning Committee hosted a boat trip to Point de Fou off the coast of Dominica on Saturday, May 18th. Invited persons had an opportunity to view colonies of breeding seabirds and roosting yellow-crowned night herons as one of the highlights for the 2013 Caribbean Endemic Birds Festival, CEBF, in Dominica. Retired forester Mr. Allington James conducted a PowerPoint presentation on the seabirds before the trip so that the participants would acquire some knowledge on the birds.
Okay, so here are some of the seabirds that we're likely to see and some that we may not see while we are sailing to Point de Fou. This one from Point de Fou. The first is the magnificent frigate bird, which Dominicans call Cizo, Scissors, Frigate, and also Frigate. Alright, so we have quite a variety of names for this, and this is the female of the species. The male comes up with this huge balloon, right, during the breeding season. It inflates it and makes this funny noises. Most likely we will not see it looking like that today, but I'm sure that we're going to see frigate birds. Here is one that was photographed off Fopole Beach, and this is a male, as you can see here. The flower of skin is deflated.
the brown booby. This is the bird that we're going to see a lot of today. I'm hoping, unless if something has happened between last year and this year. And you have quite a few of those birds, maybe I would say between 100 and 200 birds of those birds roosting on the cliffs at Point de Fou. And as I indicated earlier on, it's called the ballard bird. Now look at the color pattern, the brown and quite a bit white. And note the feet. Most of the seabirds, they have webbed feet. Like almost all of the seabirds have webbed feet. And of course, they're very good divers as well. And here is the scene, or part of the scene that you will get when we get to Point de Fou. So a little bit of space. You notice that they are, enjoying themselves. Then as I indicated, the captain normally goes in a little bit. And this is the display that they put on. They really rise up on the air currents. And all those little dots you see there, that is not dust, these are birds. Okay, these are the specks of birds. These are the brown boobies, and that was from last year's trip.
During the presentation, the participants saw other birds including brown noddy, Caribbean brown pelican, royal tern, white-tailed tropic bird, yellow-crowned night heron, and the Caribbean martin. Following the presentation, the group of approximately 50 individuals set sail from the Roseau Ferry Terminal on the Stingray 2 boat owned by the Dive Dominica Dive Shop. They then traveled to Point de Fou off the coast of Scottsdale. Upon arrival, the group was surprised by the large number of various species of birds, some of which they saw in the PowerPoint presentation before the trip. Birds were spotted nesting in the mountains of Point de Fou, while others flew away in flocks, and others carried on with their daily schedule. On the return trip, the group was greeted with the presence of dolphins and sea turtles. Jack Barnes, a South Carolina resident, stated that the bird trip was very interesting as they saw many marine and land birds in addition to other marine life. Take a look at what some of the other participants had to say about the trip.
Well, my name is Dolph Valerie, and this was a tremendous trip. We saw a lot of different birds. We saw turtles, we saw dolphins. It was awesome. And I thank the Lord for this wonderful opportunity that we can get to enjoy His creation. And it's just a reminder that we do serve a great, mighty Creator, and it is really awesome being here.
We saw dolphins, which were already playing around, and that was already a tremendous trip, and I hope to be back another time. Thank you.
Why did you come on this trip?
All right, we embarked on this trip because we had thought the forestry officials came to teach us about different birds. So as a result, that was just a culminating activity to let us see what they were saying in real life.
My name is Antonia Moses, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself today. It's one of the annual events of Caribbean Endemic Bird Festival. It's an annual event, and our hiking club, Dominica Best Explorers, always participate. So this year was very good. I enjoyed myself. We didn't see many birds this year, but over the years we've been seeing many birds. But we got a bonus today. We saw many dolphins, so that was very good. So I enjoyed myself.
Kimran Emmanuel, I've been coming on those trips organized by the Forestry and Wildlife Division for the past 4 years or so. It's a very informative trip. I would advise anybody, to try to take the opportunity in the next year to be on that trip. You will learn a lot. It's very educational. As you can see, we have a lot of young people here as well as full of people, middle-aged people. And it's for everyone. Even if you cannot swim, come. It's a very safe trip. Usually, we have, it's kind of choppy on this side at the back around Point de Fou area. But today the weather was on our side today, and we're very thankful for that. And everyone out there, just keep that in mind next year, put it on your calendar and make it a point of duty.
An employee of Dive Dominica, Mr. Reggie Prosper, stated he would love to see this seabird trip implemented in the schools on various levels so they can learn more about the seabirds and the marine environment. In more news, Saturday, May 25, 2013, will mark the 50th anniversary of African Liberation Day, ALD, since its establishment in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. One of the immediate aims of the African Liberation Movement was to foster the independence of all African nations and peoples away from colonization and imperialization. Dominica, still being a colony of England at that time, has been actively participating in ALD activities since 1972. Speaking at the launch of the ALD celebration, which took place at the Arawak House of Culture on Tuesday, May 21st, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, Honorable Justina Charles, stated that the 50th anniversary celebration is truly a milestone.
We recognize that African Liberation Day is a special and symbolic day for Africans at home, on the continent and abroad, that is, in countries such as ours. And by this, I refer not simply to the African expatriates who work here with us in health and other fields. I refer to all of us here in Dominica who are descendants of Africa, Africans who were brought here during the period of plantation slavery. We are reminded of the words of the late Peter Tosh, and I quote, "No matter where you come from, as long as you are a black man, you are an African." End of quote.
Mrs. Charles stated the period of plantation slavery and colonial rule left a sad legacy which unfortunately is still present today. The adoption of European cultural values at the expense of Africans have created a split personality syndrome, added Mrs. Charles.
Sadly, some of our people who are clearly of African descent proclaim with a passion that African Liberation Day has nothing to do with them. They proclaim with a passion that they have absolutely nothing to do with Africa. They are not Africans. In some countries, the bleaching of the dark skin has gained currency. Clearly, the recasting of the African in the image of the European, carried out 300 years ago, is manifested in our generation today. African Liberation Day thus has a cultural dimension. It provides a focal point to reflect on the African elements of our heritage, the African in us. An understanding of who we are, where we come from, will help us understand the significance of African Liberation Day and why we must be involved.
To help this process, the Division of Culture has staged various festivals while carrying out various documentaries and activities of research highlighting the African dimensions of cultural heritage, the minister added. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit praised the House of Nyabinghi for seeing the importance in celebrating this special day. As descendants of our African ancestors, we have a responsibility to do so, said Mr. Skerrit.
In observing African Liberation Day, we are also reaffirming our identity, our Africanity, the African elements of our cultural heritage. This government, in collaboration with the House of Nyabinghi, is in the observance of African Liberation Day so as to secure greater participation and involvement by the population. It appears that some people have not gotten involved for a range of reasons. However, we need to broaden our vision. We need to look at the bigger picture, and we have to look at ourselves, who we are, where we came from, and where we are headed. When we do all this, we will then realize that the day for Africa is also a day for us.
Mr. Skerrit noted, we need to find ways to deepen our relations with the African Union and the people of Africa, as genuine solidarity is one of the cornerstones of foreign relations. Our engagement in African Liberation Day celebrations is a logical and practical consequence of our progressive foreign policy and a logical consequence of our domestic policy, said the Prime Minister.
One of the sad legacies of slavery and colonialism is the negation of our African identity and the division it has created. We need to reawaken the African in us as a people. We need to broaden our minds, broaden our vision, and engage with the rest of the world. We have to move from the politics of hate to the politics of love and the politics of solidarity. We therefore must endeavor to make the celebrations more inclusive, to make the celebrations a truly national one. This is the context of government's engagements with the African Liberation Day celebrations. In light of all of this, I urge our citizens to get involved, to participate in African Liberation Day activities, to express your Africanity in various ways. In the final analysis, one will celebrate Africa Day as an expression of solidarity with Africa. We are in fact expressing solidarity with our own people here in Dominica and in the Caribbean.
The Prime Minister went on to say that the government will continue to recognize and play its part in African Liberation Day activities as part of Dominica's national calendar of events. In more news, during a presentation at the Chew On It luncheon organized by the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, DAIC, at the Fortune Hotel on Tuesday, May 21st, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Ports, Mr. Lucien Blackmore, revealed that the government has plans for geothermal energy on the southern and northern sections of the island. Mr. Blackmore added, in Dominica, the south is still available for geothermal exploration, including the Soufriere source field. The Wharton Waven geothermal project will soon commence, in addition to exploring the northern parts of the country.
And as you would realize, the geothermal resource development is indeed a national priority. It is a very big project, and it's cutting across all sectors of the economy. And of course, it is really a distinguished honor and pleasure to be with the business community here today, because we recognize that the geothermal resource is about bringing about cheaper, more affordable electricity to the community and the country of Dominica. And of course, as business people, you understand that energy is indeed one of the fundamental factors of production. Not in the old days when we used to talk about land and other capital. Today, energy is indeed one of the foremost factors of production. And what we're seeking to do in Dominica is to ensure at the end of the day that by having cheaper, more affordable energy, we will indeed advance our competitive advantage.
Mr. Blackmore stated, by 2015, the government is looking to speed up the production facility and to begin work on the domestic plant. The Permanent Secretary says they are looking at 10 megawatts by 2016 and an additional 5 megawatts. So by the end of 2016, they will have 15 megawatts of power coming from geothermal energy from our local grid. He also added that by 2018, Dominica should have 20 megawatts available to the local grid.
Because of the size or the mammoth size of that undertaking, we obviously can't do it on our own, and we have heard that geothermal is not only a question of producing power for Dominica, but it's also seen as a serious means of regional integration. And we can think of no better way of starting, but we say charity begins at home. So normally our neighbors are an extension of our family. And of course, the departments of Guadeloupe and Martinique have been intimately involved in the project process from inception. And so, as by way of ensuring that energy solidarity goes through leaps and bounds, we have had the understanding and the necessary arrangement diplomatically and otherwise to ensure that by 2018, the first startup of the export will be to Martinique for 40 megawatts, and by 2020, we'll have it going to Guadeloupe to another 50, and then the 50 to take to Martinique, then to 50. So we're looking at 50 megawatts to Martinique and Guadeloupe by 2020, starting off, of course, in the year 2018.
He said this power will be only generated from the Wharton Waven site, which has a lot of potential. Mr. Blackmore stated the support of the business community at the early stages of this project is very important, as it will mean cheaper energy consumption bills.
One thing that comes very close to my heart, not only to my mind, is the fact that we have to understand for a very long time we have been talking about manufacturing and more so agro-processing in Dominica. While we have an abundance of very fresh fruits, that is one of the juiciest and sweetest in the world, we can say, but at the end of the day, they have a very short span. When it's all ripe and fall onto the ground, we have to say bye-bye to it. So we really want to ensure that we can harness this thing now, and with cheaper energy, we can do it in a very competitive way. So it means, therefore, the people in the business and agricultural communities have to start thinking of what to plant, when to plant, and to get the agricultural produce ready so when the cheaper, more affordable energy comes, we'll be able to take care of the downstream processing that we should be able to do in agriculture.
In more news, in an interview with Mrs. Doreen Francis, director of Dominica's Save the Children Fund program, on Friday, May 17th, she stated the association is celebrating 50 years of work on the island that commenced from 1963 to present 2013. The idea, she said, is to give the general public an insight into the work of the fund. This includes providing facilities for early childhood development, including the establishment of the Maho Day Nursery, which is completely run and supervised by the Dominica Save the Children Fund. Mrs. Francis spoke of the newly concluded sponsorship program, which allowed for the assistance with the high school education for a child whose parents could not afford to send them to high school. Sponsors came from Canada, Britain, and Switzerland over a period of 5 years. She noted that most of the children under this program are now quite successful.
We have a lot of them with masters, BAs, PhD, lawyers, doctors on island and doing very constructive work on island. They're actually helping to develop our country. So we call them our input into human development on island.
Mention was made of Inspector Claude Wicks and lawyer Joshua Francis, two individuals who benefited from the program. All except one of the members that made up the board of directors of the fund are also previous sponsored children. She hopes that in future, those who have benefited will help those who need assistance later on. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.
Me say we just get the remedy for the pagan them. Me just get the remedy for bad mind and jealousy. Who want to see me dead? Me just get the remedy. Sack TV, Jah me say. You don't know Jah Vinci, you watching Sack TV. Lord, is it straight triple dose.